I'm still working on the 18.2b assignment. Somehow, I meant to pause the recording and write some stuff down for you, and I ended up stopping. And once it stopped, that's the end of that video. I had to start over. So I erased what I had for number 18. I'm going to do it again so you can see it from the beginning. We do not have to draw an angle, but I like to draw the angles. Or at least I like to draw the X and Y axis to start me. So I'm looking at number 18 here. And every time we're dealing in radians, we always say 0 degrees, pi degrees, and 2 pi degrees. I didn't put an equal sign because 0 is not equal to 2 pi. It's just coterminal to 2 pi. Because this one has a 12 on the bottom, I'm going to change my pi into 12 pi over 12. It's still 1 pi, but it's in a form that will work nicely for this problem. And I'm going to change my 2 pi into still pi, still 12, but 2 times 12 puts a 24 on the top of that fraction. Okay. So I look at the angle they asked us to deal with, and it's not more than a full circle this time. So I don't have to think about taking off a full circle or adding on a full circle. It's just within that space. Really roughly, if that's 12 pi over 12, then I need to go just a little bit past this. So when you want to find the reference angle, you always want to think about whether it's closer to 0 or pi or 2 pi. When we did these problems with degrees, we were saying, is it closer to 0 or 180 or 360? Basically, I'm saying, which part of the x-axis is it closest to? And since this is 13 pi over 12, and we sketched it right over here, I'd say that that is definitely closer to this side. In this case, I'm saying, is it closer to 0 or to 12 pi over 12 or to 24 pi over 12? Because this means the same thing, just in a different format, and this means the same thing, just in a different format. In this case, it looks like it's closer to 12 pi over 12. So I'm just saying, if I want to deal with 13 pi over 12, it's closer to 12 pi over 12, which ends up being pi over 12 reference angle. Okay, let's look at the next page. Find the closest positive and negative coterminal angle for each given angle. And remember that when we want to find coterminal angles, if I want to find coterminal angles, I have to, that means angles that start and end at the same place, I have to add and subtract 360 or add and subtract 2 pi, depending on the situation here. I think I've done enough of this kind in the 18.1a notes and in the 18. Did some degree ones in the 18.1b notes, did some of these in today's notes. I think I'm not going to do one of those. What you need to be aware of is, because this is already between 0 and 360, I'm just going to have to add 360, subtract 360, I'll have my answers. This one, because it's more than 360 degrees, it's likely that I'll have to subtract 360 2 times. Once will give me a positive that's a little smaller, and the second time will give me a negative. Okay, what I want to do is find a coterminal angle between 0 and 2 pi for each given angle. So I'm looking at number 24 again. Again, I'm going to start with a sketch, and my sketch for radians always says 0, pi, 2 pi, but I always end up changing that 2 pi anyway, so I'm just going to take them out of there now. because this fraction has a 45 on the bottom, I'm going to make the pi be 45, 45, so it's really 1 pi. And then for the 2 pi one, I still need the 45 on the bottom, and I have to say what is 45 times 2 and put 90 up on top. Then I'm trying to find a negative angle. Doesn't say I have to sketch it, but first thing I'm going to say is that more than a full circle? 90 pi over 45? No, it's not more than a full circle. It's not more than a full circle in the positive direction or the negative direction. It's not more than a full circle. So this one shouldn't be too bad to think about it. I may want to know what this top number is. So I have to think about what's 45 divided by 2. That's 22.5. So the top of this is kind of 22.5. Now, that is not something I would leave in a final answer, but it gives me a good idea of what's going on. It tells me that each quadrant, 22.5 pi over 45, 22.5 pi over 45, 22.5 for each of those quadrants. I'm going in the negative direction, but if this is all negative, so I'll call this negative, and I'll call this negative 22.5 pi over 45. And I don't know exactly where it is, but it's not that far. So a really, really rough sketch puts it right here. So if I want to know where that is, an angle that ends in that place, but it's between 0 and 2 pi, now I'm thinking I didn't even need that sketch. I kind of needed these numbers to think it through, but I didn't really need that sketch. Because no one's asking me for reference angle or anything like that. I can just take the negative 19 pi over 45 and say, nope, it's not between 0 and 2 pi because it's a negative. Let's add a full circle to it. If it was positive, I would subtract a full circle to get it adjusted, right? If it wasn't already in between 0 and 90 45ths of pi. So I'm going to add 90 pi over 45 because that is a full circle, which tells me 71 pi over 45. Now the question is, that is coterminal because I added a full circle to it. Is it somewhere between 0 and 2 pi? Is that number somewhere between 0 and 90 pi over 45? Yes, it is. There's my answer for that one. I can do the same type of thing with number 23, thinking about 0 pi, except I'm going to call it 12 pi over 12 and 24 pi over 12. And I can say 41 pi over 12, too big. Take off a full circle, see what you have left. And if you get a number where the top is between 0 and 24 and the bottom is still 12, you're done with that. Okay, let's look at the next page. One more page. This is the last page. Number 26. State if the given angles are coterminal. And remember, coterminal means that you can add or subtract 360 or add and subtract and it matches up. So we did some of these in the notes today. I can either take the small one and keep subtracting until it gets, keep adding until it gets to the big one, or I can take the big one and keep subtracting until it gets to the small one. What I wrote is start with a small angle and add a full circle until you get to the big one. But technically you could also start with the big one and subtract, but I'd rather add than subtract. So on 26 I'm going to start with a small one add a full circle. Negative 320 degrees. I'm not there yet. I want positive 320 degrees. So I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to add 360 degrees. And it takes me to 40 degrees. Not there yet. This is coterminal, this is coterminal, but I want to know if that's coterminal. So next I'm going to take and add 360 to that. I went past 320 and I never touched 320. You don't have to write the explanation, but I wanted it there so you could look at it later. I went past 320 degrees without touching 320 degrees. So are these two coterminal to each other? No, they are not. You cannot just write yes and no on these answers. You have to have something to back it up. Let's do one of those in radians. What's smaller? 17 pi over 18. It just helps me with the radians especially to have a really rough sketch and say 0, pi, and 2 pi, but I'm going to fix that. The bottom of both of those is 18. I will usually give you one where the denominator is already matched, so you don't have to deal with it. That's 18 pi over 18. Bottom stays 18. 2 times 18 is 36. So I'm going to take my smaller one here, which is 17 pi over 18. And I'm going to add a full circle to it. And certainly you can use the fraction button on your calculator, but I wouldn't put the pi in because it will give you crazy answers on those calculators. So the easiest way is just to say the bottom's going to stay the same. The pi is still going to be there, and it's 53 pi over 18. Doesn't match yet. So I'm going to take that result, add another full circle, yep, 89 pi over 18. I managed to make it match that, but I really shouldn't be circling that because that's not my answer. My answer is, did it match? Yes, it did. That is certainly enough problems from that assignment. If you think that you already submitted this because you got it, I'm sorry, but you still have to go back and check these even problems that I gave you. When you check this, a little bit more, you're going to be fixing and making right, if they're not already right, number 2, number 4, number 6, number 8, number 10. 12 is even, but I didn't tell you, so you'll underline the problem number there. 14 is even, but I didn't check it for it to give you the answers, so you'll underline that one. Circle the 16 if it's not already right. Show the work, fix it, and make it right. 18, if it's not already right, show the work, fix it, and make it right. Number 20 is an even one where I didn't tell you the answer, so you would underline that problem. Number 22 is an even one where I didn't give you the answer, so you'd underline that one. Number 24, circle the problem number. Make it right if it's not already right. Don't just circle the problem number without making it right. And last page, I did both 26 and 28. So there's only a few that you don't already know. Remember that you have to mark circles and X's, or circles and underlines when you don't know. And there should be no X's on any even problems. Every even problem, either I told you or you don't know. Okay, I take that back. Somebody was putting X's the other day because they were trying it and they knew they were writing down garbage. Every odd problem needs a circle or an X. You've still got, if you're watching this on the same day that I recorded it, you've still got a couple of days. If your problems are turning out wrong, take a little time, go back and figure out why. you can probably figure out what's wrong with him. Somebody submitted an assignment the other day saying, I reworked number 5, and you're probably watching this so you know who I'm talking about. I worked number 5 and I couldn't figure it out. Well, you know what? I looked at it. I saw what you did wrong, and I wrote it in the comment space because I want you to know what you're doing wrong. I think doing your homework is kind of a waste of your time if you never bother to figure out whether it's right or wrong. You need to at least know if you're messing up. Preferably, you go back and figure out what you did wrong and make it right. But you need to at least know whether you're getting them right or wrong. Okay, I think that's enough of that one. I'm hoping that you're finding this one of the easier assignments because it's kind of review already from stuff we've already done.